I have these friends, Dan and Sheila. They're podcast hosts.
Welcome to Profiling Criminal Minds. I'm Dan.
And I'm Dr. Redmond.
And we are back for episode 5 of this, I'm going to say it, wonderful new season. They have been crushing it. And this episode is no exception.
No, this episode is we were talking about whether this is the transition. This is episode 5.
Yeah, it's episode 5. And I mean, the previous season, right? Famously, they had to end the season with an explosion and our JJ and Luke dead and, keeping us on the edge of our seats. Because you're going to transition and you want to keep people hooked for the 2-month break they're about to wait for, the 6-week break, whatever it was. And this time we knew they're going straight through. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not going to be that kind of a cliffhanger. It has to be a very different kind of cliffhanger because it has to move us into a new phase of the show where we basically understand the stakes finally, right? And are seeing them move forward towards something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm really excited about.
Anyway, yes, it was, we were right.
Yeah.
About Stewart House.
Yep.
So I'm going, they're doing the CIA programming thing.
It does seem that way, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. That's what I thought when I was I'm going through in these little things. Okay, go listen to last week's discussion, right?
Yeah, because spoiler alert, this is the kind of stuff the CIA did.
Yep.
As unpleasant as that is to consider, this is like the kind of stuff the CIA has done historically. So seeing them talk about it in the show is very interesting, especially since they're being so critical of the concept of conspiracy theories.
Yeah, plus the when he says Aiden got killed was because he was trying to stop it starting again.
Yeah.
So that itself is going to lead into next, but that's this episode was, I can't sit and say that it was tense because you knew the bomb wasn't going to go off.
I've seen television. I know the bomb's not going off.
Not if it's going to kill like half our cast.
No, of course not.
Going off, right?
But the question is, how is the bomb not going off part of their plan?
Yes.
Because they knew they were under surveillance because he sent a code.
Yep.
There's no reason for him to send a code if he's not being watched. He can just tell them things. So they knew, and of course they knew he was under surveillance. That's why they sent the bomb. And if they wanted to kill him, he would just blow it up.
Yep.
But still, I loved his scene of profiling her. I thought that was so delightful. Him doing his... Yes, when he explains about the tattoos.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, of her claiming victims, right? And reinforcing that she is strong by putting the tattoos on herself, right?
Yeah.
Like, she has achieved these things. She has, she is the one in control now because she's in control of her own body, hence the tattoos. We've talked before on this show about how abuse victims... tattooing is actually a fairly frequent coping mechanism because it's all about controlling your own body and saying you're the one in charge of it. You are in charge of the story that appears on your body in these things. That's not an uncommon thing at all, actually, right? And so it's a smart profile of him to use.
Yeah,
I thought that was a very nice scene. Oh my God! But seriously, all right, well, let's start early.
Let's start at the beginning.
I know, I was just so happy with that scene. I want to rush to talking about it.
Well, I was very happy with this episode.
Oh, yeah.
I just going, as you're watching it and it's developing, I'm looking at, it's funny, I read just before we start about the doing it chronologically. I had read somebody had an early 2 episodes, right?
Right.
And so they got to do a review. Some reviewer on some whatever got, You know
the first 2 episodes. No, they send out the first 2 episodes early, so when the premiere happens, you can have your review ready to go. That's not unusual at all.
Yeah, well, this guy put it up, I guess it was up Thursday. As I said, it came on my phone. So, but, and he didn't like Voight, and I'm going, and he thought it was kind of stale, and it was really weird.
Had he not been watching the show?
Had he not been watching up to this? No, they should have not continued on with Voight. And I'm just going,
oh, wow.
And then after I saw the first 2 episodes, I'm going, okay, I don't know where this guy is. And it was a man,
from?
So I'm not using it in a generic sense. It was okay. But I don't know where this guy was coming from exactly, but I couldn't understand his problem unless he expected, I don't know, but it doesn't matter because I'm looking at Voight in this episode 5, and going, I want to punch him in the face.
Yeah.
But it's really...
But it's compelling television.
But it's compelling. And the way he baits the team that works very well, because for whatever reason, he is getting under everybody's skin.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure. I know what it is. Will is not there to keep JJ on straight and narrow. Do you understand?
How vital this is to her sanity.
We needed Will or we need Hutch to come back.
I know.
To kind of finally
to get these people on the straight and narrow, yeah.
One more time, because they seem to be going all over the place.
Yeah, they really are. Except
for Tara.
Well, obviously. Tara's got a little more stability. She's back with Rebecca, thankfully.
Oh, thankfully.
We love that couple.
Yes, thank heavens. Rebecca's finally realized this is way too much to do alone.
I know.
And it would help. And as we all know, watching JJ, she's not doing well alone.
Exactly. Oh, but anyway, so Voight gets to the building, which is great seeing him in there, and just filmed. We haven't talked enough, I think, about how good the show looks now.
Yeah.
Again, they are going at it with the lighting. Do you know what I think we've never mentioned once in now 14 episodes of the new show?
Mm-hmm.
It's being shot in widescreen now.
Mm-hmm.
The whole show is 235. On a widescreen TV, it has black bars on the top and bottom.
Nice.
They are going out of their way. I mean, no television show does this. This is a kind of a unique thing that they're doing. It's not even something other TV shows do. They're saying, no, this is a cinematic presentation. We are taking this stuff visually, seriously, in a way that even TVs. Go to any prestige TV show. It's not 235.
No, it is. And the thing that impressed me at the beginning was like the visuals.
Yeah.
When they take him off the elevator and into the room with the team.
Yeah.
Right? And before anybody says anything, you just see the team and they're all glaring at him, and we don't see his face. What we see are his feet as he's walking. This makes
it's such an impression.
Point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an impressive visual to make a point in this room. And then he starts in on everybody.
I know.
Calling for Dave. And,
and the shot of Dave, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And when they go to Dave, instead of doing cutting to Dave, as we might have in the past, we cut to a blank wall, thus creating an empty, the visual we see is an empty office. And we gradually move over to find Dave, but the fact that the camera actually has to find Dave is reinforcing the idea that Dave isn't there, right? That Dave is absent, that Dave has been removed from the situation. Yes, in one respect or another. He's removed himself from the situation, but it's like there is this distance, and then he is looking and he is staring off to the empty side of frame, reinforcing the distance between him and the rest of the team. It's just the blinds are drawn, the
closed, everything. Yeah, no, I know.
There is so much more interesting visual storytelling that the show has not been known for. That, let's face it, no TV drama, like no procedural, they're not known for visual storytelling. They're just not. Because, again, when you've got 8 days to put out 40 minutes of television, you can't worry about stuff like that.
Yeah, this is, I'm hoping that they take, it'll be one of those questions. So how long did each episode take to shoot?
Well, I mean, that's something I look forward to asking Breen later on, because maybe they still took it in the same time, but it's entirely possible, right? And a lot of this comes down to prep time, right? And because remember how when you looked at Matt Gubler being interviewed about his episodes, he would talk, and other people talk, about how much longer he prepped episodes, right? How much extra time he put into it. And a lot of this is you can shoot it in the same amount of time. If you know exactly what you want out of every shot going in, you can plan for that and shoot it in the normal time it takes to shoot an episode. But you have to know exactly what you want to do, and you have to have the prep time in advance. And my theory is... script. Well, yeah, obviously you have to have the script as early as possible to be able to do that prep time.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that what's happening here is we're seeing people who are maybe, because they're only doing 10 episodes, because they're shooting the whole thing and editing the whole thing pretty much before it starts airing, when you're doing 22 episodes a year and you're writing 3 episodes ahead and you're editing 2 episodes ahead and so on and so forth, right? You have, you're casting for next week. You're scouting for next week's episode. You're casting for 2 weeks ahead of episode, and you're writing for 3 weeks ahead episode. And maybe just the fact that, they have a little extra time
to do all the prep
work, they're being allowed to think visually and think outside the box for the show.
Well, and what's interesting, too, is that I'm seeing... And I'll have to go back and watch all these episodes, but they're on Disney Plus. So
we're gonna go back and watch all these episodes. Of course we are.
Because what I've just noticed this time, because I sat and looked for it.
Yeah.
But I'm looking and I'm going, there are a few new people here and there, but for the most part, you see some continuity. Like Christopher Barber is there, of course, Glenn Kershaw is there, and, people who have been there for a lengthy time and have, sort of stuck it out through thick and thin, and have so the continuity, we don't have continuity problems.
No.
Right? I mean, it stuns me. There are no callbacks or anything really in this episode. What there is, though, is that
there's one callback I'll talk about in a minute that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. But, sometimes we can talk about a whole bunch of things, which we did last time.
Yeah.
But this time it is but it is interesting that consistency and the continuity. And as you say, it's because they've got a lot more time and people aren't going out and taking other jobs in between filming. And so I
have to assume they don't have a rotating set of directors, right? And a director comes in to shoot an episode, and how long did they have to prep that episode, and how long did they have, right? They have.
I don't know. That's the one thing I have to double check. I do know that the first 2 episodes, I think, were the same director. We talked about this in the last season. Yeah. Those first 2 episodes. I don't know if that happened this time. I'd have to go back and check that one out. But I think the directors, maybe they've got more money, so the directors are hired earlier to have more prep time to figure out what they're doing along with their production team, right?
Maybe.
And the line producer, the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's so funny, because we don't see the term line producer anymore, except Those Who Kill had a line producer.
Yeah.
And he was the last.
Well, I would
Anyway,
suggest
never
that,
mind. Let's get
we would
back
have
to
to
this.
check into this, but I assume that the role of line producer has been broken up into a couple of different jobs.
Yeah.
It would not shock me because of, let's face it, line producers have to do a lot. So,
Tell me about it.
I know, right? You know.
Yeah, I know.
All right. So, yes.
Okay, let's go back to this episode.
Voight is in there.
We're thrilled with this.
We are really thrilled with this week's episode. So, Voight is in the office, right?
Yeah.
And in a...
causing havoc as
causing
much
havoc.
as he can.
And
Emotional havoc. Like, this man is good.
he is.
Like,
And
his writing is
it's embarrassing that, like, the best they could do, because they have no idea how to reach in and get him, right? Because he observes, the awkwardness about Tyler and Garcia. How
Luke and Garcia.
Well, no, but it's about
First.
Tyler and it's about Tyler and Garcia, because
Yeah, but
Luke clearly doesn't like
later.
Tyler. No, but that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. That's the awkwardness he sees, right?
Yeah,
It's
but that's
between the
later
two.
on.
No,
That's-
but he see. We're
Yes,
talking about the same thing. He sees the two of them are awkward, and he knows it's about Tyler.
Yes,
We're talking
because he
about the
knows
same
everything.
That's my point, because he saw the two of them together.
Yeah.
Right? He saw the two of them together earlier. Yes. Yeah. I don't know why you fought me on that. Right? And so he points it out. And so he's digging deep really fast. And the best that they can come up with is telling him he smells. I'm like, guys, you are not good at this.
Well, yeah, you're talking about when they get in the computer
Yes,
room.
I am talking about, because that's the important part. When they get in the computer room. Oh my God.
Anybody thinks that we're going to be doing this chronologically is crazy.
We're
not.
Hey, first off, they go basically straight to the computer room. The only thing literally the only thing between there is we cut away to the couple, right? Oh God, how am I blanking on his name?
Damien,
thank you. God, I shouldn't have blanked.
And Jade.
Damien and Jade, yeah. We see them, and she finds out that two of them were successfully murdered, in all likelihood, because he can't contact them, by the hit team, right? But the rest of the hit team is dead, and of course, one of them, Aiden, was murdered by the FBI, right?
Yeah,
and as he says, and this is what the thing you already mentioned, right? They believe that he was, by killing people who used to work at the place, going to keep it from ever happening again. But the FBI stopped him, which of course only reinforces their belief that someone is trying to cover up what happened to all of them. And of course, someone is trying to cover up what happened to them. It's just not the FBI. It is the FBI. Well, no, it's just not the BA too. It is the FBI because Bailey knew about it, and the director knows about it, and Rebecca knows a little bit about it. So it's like we're in this really weird situation where, like, I think the killers are right about a lot.
Yes.
Like, we don't know how much they're right about yet, but it's like the whole concept of, like, conspiracy versus theory, right, is what's coming up over and over again. But it's like, I haven't heard a thing they're wrong about yet. There actually was, a millionaire paying a hit team to murder these people, and it seems like he actually was recruited from an abusive, an abuse-filled, what do you call it?
You mean Damien?
Yeah, Damien seems to have actually been recruited from an abuse-filled group home to, like, murder people for the government. So it's like,
yeah.
When are we going to get to the insane conspiracy theory part?
Well, no, this is the whole point. Like that business of Voight and Emily having that discussion of conspiracy versus conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
And the conclusion that we come to by the end of the episode is Emily going, I don't know the difference anymore. I don't know. I can't tell.
What I love about it, and we'll talk about when we get there, but it's like the payoff for the conversation about conspiracy versus theory, and like Tara's simplistic idea of, it's whether you can prove it or not. I'm like, no, it's not that simple.
No, it's not that simple, because sometimes theories, and all you have to do is read Umberto Eco's Foucault's Pendulum. Is it
Oh my
Foucault's
God!
Pendulum?
It is Foucault.
Or
well, yes,
yeah.
no. It's considering that it's my favorite book. Yes, it's Foucault's Pendulum. If you haven't read Foucault's Pendulum, it is a book largely about conspiracies, but more importantly, it's about the conspiratorial mind and how humans need to create stories to explain the world, and how even if there weren't accurate, like, whether there are secret societies running the world or not, that there will be, because humans need there to be. They need that story to be true because it explains a confusing world. And it's a fantastic book. I love it so much.
It's often what I would call, it is very difficult to figure it out. You just have to keep going. And when you get to the end, you're not necessarily satisfied, but it is a great book.
It is a fantastic bok. And so rich with observations about human psychology and human nature, which is one of the things Echo's best at. Fun fact, this is not, you're not going to be hearing this, audience, for until October, but Umberto Eco is actually going to come up in the next thing we record when we're talking about Darren Morgan episodes of the X-Files.
Yeah.
I had planned to talk about Umberto Eco in that, for reasons you'll understand, well, tomorrow when we record it. And you'll understand why then, but it's like, it ties in really well, something he wrote. But yes,
anyway,
Foucault's Pendulum, it really is a masterpiece. I love that book. I've read it, I think, 5 times.
Yeah, and we have it in hardback.
Of course. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
How could we not?
Some books you have to have in hardback.
100%.
And you will never get rid of them.
No.
But to get back to this, I mean, I'm bringing it up because it is conspiracy versus conspiracy theories. And sometimes conspiracies are real and sometimes they're not. And that's what he does with, is it the Polish cemetery?
Yeah. Oh, the Prague Cemetery, which is the Prague Cemetery masterpiece book. The Prague Cemetery. So, masterpiece book, because it's about, I mean, long story short, it's about the man who wrote the Protocols of the Elders of Zion.
Yeah. And
and he's like, who could write this and why would he write this? Because we know that it was created by Russian military intelligence, the Russian secret police at the order of the Tsar. Like, we know who commissioned it, but the question is, who actually wrote it is something we don't know. And so he wrote an entire book theorizing about that. And it's, again, a masterpiece.
Yeah. So that's after you, if you
make it through Foucault's
Pendulum, go read the Prague Cemetery.
And I will say this, Foucault's Pendulum is a longer book, but it's a much easier read than the Prague Cemetery, because the main character is a reporter trying to, well, an editor and a translator, but for the purposes of the book, a reporter, right? Trying to figure something out. So structurally, it makes a lot more sense. Whereas the Prague Cemetery is from the point of view of a literal insane person.
Yeah. So it
jumps around in time, and there is questionable if people he talks to are real, and it's like literally taking place over decades rather than over a few months. So it's not a slog, but you have to really pay attention. But love me some Prague Cemetery. All right, but let's get back to this. And I'm not saying this, the conversations they have are influenced by it. I'm just saying, if you liked this episode, we're directing to you to the best fiction ever written about conspiracies.
Yes, and so therefore, this is because that's what this episode is about. This business of conspiracy and conspiracy theories and conspiracy and what makes something, and you can't believe anything that you hear.
Yeah.
Because for example, North Star, not Gold Star, but North Star. So is it real or is it not real?
Yeah.
And we have no idea, because what happens, of course, is that Penelope cannot stand being in her enclosed space, having Voight invade her space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she says, we're going to do this. So she moves the computer's stuff into
the main office,
the main room, right?
Yeah.
Where they sit around the table. And so they do everything from there, right? Yeah. And it is now where was I going to go with that? When they move, because when they finally get through to Damien, through this dark web.
Connection.
Because he directs and he makes the connections. And of course, they're waiting 2 hours, right? It's over 2 hours. It's over 2 hours and Voight has told him, who knows how long it will take for him to respond.
Yeah. He's not sitting in front of a computer. Right.
No, and we know this as the audience. We know the fact is that the man is on the run and he's in the bush somewhere in his car.
Yeah.
For God's sake, they're afraid that they're going to be killed. They're next, and and I am sure that even if it came up on his phone, he waited before he responded, and the team is, particularly Rebecca, is just like, well, no, it's been 2 hours. He's not going to contact us.
Back to the cell. Like, it could be weeks before he looks at his phone.
I mean, what is this now? And they had to have the kid respond.
Of course.
Damien respond faster.
Yeah.
But, the idea
the idea that he could be guaranteed a response within 2 hours, that's a very unreasonable condition to put on this deal, guys.
Yeah, no, this is because
you have no way of knowing.
No, because nobody knows where these two people are.
Also, the theory they have, and this will come up right before they all get in the plane, that Damien and Jade must be together, it's based on nothing.
No,
it is literally based on nothing. There is they're right, but there is no way they could know that. There is absolutely no way they could be assuming that the two of them have hooked up and are now together. Like, there's just...
Yes, and we've already had this business of trust, and Damien says, but you trust me. She doesn't answer him.
Nope.
She
doesn't trust anybody, and good for her.
Trusts, yeah.
100% good for her.
So it is it is very, very interesting. And part of it, I would think, if we're talking about it, is that Damien, because he was programmed at the Stewart house in a way that she wasn't.
Yeah.
In a way that she wasn't.
He's deeper down the rabbit hole.
He's not only deeper down the rabbit hole, but he is also in need of someone to tell him what to do.
Yeah. Because
more than she is.
I think that's right. I think you're absolutely right about that, because fundamentally,
we'll find out.
Yeah, it's like when you are you become this kind of special forces person, and you turn over all reasoning and all morality to the group, right?
And we saw that in Shooter, which everybody will hear us talk about
soon
in
enough.
3 months.
Yeah. Yeah, soon enough you'll hear us talk about Shooter.
It's interesting that keeps coming up.
Yeah, that you have to turn over everything you are to the organization and lose all your identity. And, well, yeah, we're not going to talk about the SEALs now, but
no.
That goes to some pretty dark places. And if you want to, there's a wonderful news article you can read. There's an in-depth look at what the SEALs got up to in Afghanistan because of this whole, we have abandoned morality to become perfect soldiers, blah, blah, blah. It goes to some pretty dark places pretty quickly. Yeah, is all I'll say about that.
And what's really weird is that last night, so yesterday, for whatever reason, I had finished watching My Life is Murder, which is...
Love that show. Oh my God, can't get enough of it. Lucy Lawless. It started, greatest show in the world, because it started as an Australian cop show, well, detective show, with Lucy Lawless. But during the plague, they couldn't keep doing the show in Australia because there was a plague. So they're just like, okay, what if the character moves to New Zealand?
Where they shot Xena.
Yeah, well, it's like where she's from.
Yeah.
Where she lives.
Yep.
Fun fact, after the first season, she has a different cat because it's Lucy Lawless's actual cat.
Yeah.
Like, there was an actor cat when they were in Australia, but they moved to New Zealand. She was like, screw it, I'll just bring my cat to set. She's fine with it.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, it's and so at the end, it looks, and Apocalypse Now was going to be the next thing after I finished season 3, 4.
Okay.
Right. So Apocalypse Now, and I opened it up and I started watching it.
Yeah.
Shit, that's a good show. Jeez, the movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
it is.
this is Apocalypse Now Redux, so it's his redo
Oh,
of it.
wow. With the extra 40 minutes and all of the stuff with the French, when they go to the French plantation, which is fantastic.
Oh, Jesus, Murphy, Apocalypse Now, and I'm only like 20 minutes in. It is a stunner.
It is.
It is a stunner. Those of you who have not watched Apocalypse Now,
make time.
Go watch Redux.
Take that 3 hours and 20 minutes or however long it is.
Yeah.
Just set aside the time. You deserve it.
You can take a break when what's her face sings "These Boots Are Made for Walking."
I know,
Nancy Sinatra.
Yes. Yeah, when they do the whole the USO show.
Yeah. Something to eat. Yeah, it's a USO show, and then the shooting starts. But it is so to get back to this, like, it's funny. This episode is bringing up sort of all sorts of weird things because in some ways it's a very straightforward episode.
Oh yeah, it's just
got
plot.
So much friggin' in it.
There's so many layers to what we're watching. And it is, I mean, here's the plot of the episode.
Yeah.
Voight makes a phone call. They fly to another state. Guy shows up with a bomb. They disarm the bomb. That's the entire plot of the episode.
And Voight doesn't run away.
Oh, of course he doesn't run away. He knows.
Stupid. And that was David Rossi's fault.
Well, both of them. But David Rossi and Emily for signing off on it. But
no. Emily signs off on it. But David Rossi did, because he went and talked to Voight on the plane and made that shooting response.
Yeah.
Voight's stupid.
No, he knows.
And by the way, and we also get Emily and Dave talking. I just have to bring this up at the time.
Of course.
This is near the beginning when they're talking. And of course, Emily says, look, everybody knows you've been talking. And he says, but that's just the way I've always processed.
I've been watching you for 15 years, Dave. I don't think that's true.
Well, okay, but never mind. For the purposes of this show, that is true.
Yeah.
Now, okay, except that this one is different. Now, Emily says, and this is what's wrong. She says, yeah, but whenever that happened, you always let go of the characters once the case was over.
Yeah.
And somehow or another, she assumes that this case with Voight is over.
I know.
And that is a mistake.
He has no closure. Like, if she doesn't understand, and she doesn't. I mean, I say
no,
if.
she doesn't.
She doesn't understand that he has no closure over what happened with Voight yet.
No, and not only that, but the case with Voight isn't over.
It's open.
He still has not admitted he's Sicarius.
Not only is he not admitted he's Sicarius, he's standing in the next room.
He's standing in the next room. And not only that, by the way, I have a question. Did he legally change his name to Elias Voight?
Well, I think he adopted another person's personality, finding a kid who died and things like that.
Yeah. No, I know that. Okay, but the point is they know who he is and what his real name is.
They think they do, but remember, you have to prove that. And the question is, can they prove?
All they have to do is fingerprint stuff.
If there's fingerprints of this child.
No, I'm talking about there's fingerprints of Voight when he was living with his uncle.
I don't know that there are fingerprints of that.
Oh, I'm sure there are. Nobody cleaned that place. Anyway, never mind.
He hadn't lived there for years. He hadn't lived there in 20 years.
And you think...
I think there are none of my fingerprints in your house. 100%. I think there's none of my fingerprints in your house after the 10 years since I've been there. Well, not 10 years. But the point is, right? I think that no, in 20 years, the fingerprints go away. I am relatively certain about that one. But anyway, that's something we can talk to an expert in this stuff about. We're not going to get an answer on that today. But
it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter to the plot. I'm just saying, they think they know who he originally was. I just don't know if they can prove it.
Okay.
But again, that's a question we can have later. You're right. Did he ever legally change his name? Maybe he did. Who knows at this point?
If he did, then they can call him Elias. But then, because what gets to him is every time, and haven't they figured this one out? Every time they call him Lee.
Yeah. Yeah, Lee Duval. It does get to him.
Why haven't they?
Why don't they keep doing that?
Yeah.
No, it's a really good question. You make a strong point.
Which means this team is in massive disarray.
Well, they're obviously in massive disarray. Their attempt to get at him is telling him he smells. They're not doing a good job right now.
Come on, Luke, after last week. But no, yeah. they're all in this destroyed kind of mess. Yeah. Except for, as I said, Tara.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Tara seems to be the only sort of stable one in this whole mess.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can see JJ and they're all reacting like they're doing their job, and they're doing it reasonably well. Penelope is probably managing second best.
I mean, maybe. Yeah, she's got her own stuff going on.
Yeah, I know. Well, it is fascinating. It is, and watching this whole business with Voight, and it's his interaction with the team. This is what you take away with the different members of the team. Like when he starts now here's another thing. This tells you. Now, we're not saying they're bad at their job anymore. What we're saying is they're in disarray.
Yeah.
And they're a mess because what happens? They're on the plane.
Back in the day, when they were bad at their job, they were, super confident all of the time, and the show didn't acknowledge they were bad at their job. The show is now acknowledging as they screw up.
Yeah.
The narrative no longer covers for these characters, and that's huge.
Okay, and here's what I want to say. Yeah, because that is huge. But here's what I want to say. They're sitting on the plane. I loved the thing with Voight in the car as he's coming up the plane. He said, it really exists.
Oh my God, my favorite moment.
He was just like,
that was the favorite moment I wanted to talk about.
He was just like looking at that plane and going, well, I'd read about it in Dave's books, but really, wow. Right? That was great. So he gets into the plane. But here's the thing. He starts talking and yammering, right? Yeah. And Tara finally says, look, we're not supposed to interact with the prisoners on the plane. Yeah. That's that. Now, I'm going, why the hell didn't they just put a gag around his mouth?
I know.
To shut him up, because he wasn't going to shut up. No, we end up him egging Dave finally. Dave goes and talks to him. Mm-hmm. And then he says, Dave, I want to say it was a bad thing I did when I put you into that container. Can you forgive me?
Oh my God. So perfect.
Shut Dave up. No, it was a perfect thing. Dave should have just gotten up and walked away.
Yeah, but he can't. He's involved. He's stuck in this childish dominance game.
Yeah, and so, as they say, testosterone. So he makes this finger of shooting him, which is what means that, because I am sure that at one level, Voight was thinking, yes, he could get away.
Yeah. Oh, he had the possibility in his head. I completely believe
I actually thought the van was coming to pick him up.
I did not think that.
No, I know, but never mind. Okay, I mean, I was wrong. That was all there was to it. But as I was watching it...
No, the second the van starts racing down, I'm like, oh, they've put a bomb on an innocent guy's chest. I've seen television.
Yes, well, I don't always go, I've seen television and realize. Because this one, and that goes to the fact that the reboot of Criminal Minds... leaves us guessing a little bit more than any of the other ones ever did.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
The first 15 years could,
most of the time we're calling every shot, but no, this time keeps you guessing a lot of the time.
Okay, and so that to me is good. But it's and then Dave just can't. So, and Elias thinks about that and goes, oh, shit, they've got a sniper on me. I ain't giving up. And he puts his hands and he gets down on his knees.
Yeah.
Hands in the air, down on his knees. And the rest of the team is trying to figure out why the hell he's doing that, right? Dave knows.
Yeah, Dave knows. And he's like,
sniper.
And what I love is his response is, I'm not in a position, I'm not looking to get shot by the FBI. And you're like, oh, well, do you think the FBI would just shoot somebody? You guys just shoot people. Like, have you not noticed that you guys have murdered people when you 100% didn't have to? You've okay.
Particularly Dave.
Dave has done it more than once. JJ's done it. Let me think. Has Luke executed somebody? No, Luke hasn't executed anybody. JJ has executed people. David has executed a bunch of people. Right?
And we call them on it every time.
We call them on it every time. We don't let them get away with that nonsense. But the point is, they do not have a high horse to stand on when he says that the FBI might just shoot him. They're not in a position to debate that point. And I love that the show lets him say that. The show lets him say it.
Because after all, he follows all of this stuff. He gets information because what we have discovered is that he is the one who gave Gold Star the names of the people
which
who
you
were
had
the
already
assassination
predicted.
team.
You had already predicted that.
I
you
had
were obviously
that,
right.
But obviously, but yes, Voight did give it to them, but we have now confirmation of that.
Yeah, that he saw weird movement in
money,
this dark
Bitcoin.
web money, Bitcoin. And he's like, I wonder who's paying somebody for a crime. And he followed up on it.
Well, it's his bread and butter, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Right.
That's how he makes his money.
That's how he makes his money, and that's how he gets leverage on people. It makes 100% sense that he would be interested in this and be able to check into it. That's absolutely within his bailiwick.
And because he knows who Gold Star is, he warns them.
Yeah, he knows. He warns them, right? He knows who their targets are.
Warns them and gives them the name.
Exactly, the names of all of the guys who got the money. Just like they found out about the banking last week. Now you might be saying, wait a minute, I thought they were paid not with Bitcoin, but but cash going into a secret offshore bank account. I'm like, yeah, I thought that too. I would love to have that reconciled, because that wasn't Bitcoin going into a secret offshore bank account you can hack into. But you know what? They have time to reconcile that later. We're gonna.
Well, yeah. Yes, yeah, and besides, no, the guys just took the Bitcoin out and translated it into real money and put it offshore. How's that?
No, because the reason they were able to find Tyler's former boss is because he's the one who put the money in the accounts. And that's how they were able to also trace his transfer into those accounts to the remaining guys. I know. All right. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that. The point is, he was able to find out because of sinister, illegal money transactions. There you go. All right. That's how Voight was able to find out about it. Well, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's like, what I love about it is, the show is willing to say that, the FBI does shady stuff. Emily's getting kicked off the case because of all the stuff that's happening with Brian. Right?
Because Politico has gotten a hold of it.
Yeah, has gotten a hold of her.
Somebody's leaked it to Politico.
Yeah, well, we know who leaked it, we assume, to Politico.
Yeah.
That, this senior FBI agent is having a conspiracy theorist beat up. Yeah, I would cover that story too.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even blame Politico for becoming the cat's paw for this for this trap that they're putting her in. I cannot wait. But the fascinating thing is, what is going on with Damien saying he's got people he trusts?
Yeah.
Who else is involved in this?
Well, there have to be more than 5 children.
Exactly. But it's like, or is someone using him to settle extra legal scores? And it's like, it has someone, is someone using him in an interesting way? I'm very interested to see where that line goes. Because obviously there are more people involved, because look at the two of them in, just hanging out in a muscle car down somewhere in the Southwest. On what planet are they arranging the beating up and the framing of Emily? It just seems ridiculous that they could be handling all of this. I don't think they're doing any of that. So the question is,
they're not involved with them. The
Emily
stuff. They just want to get back at all of these people who abuse them.
Exactly.
They seem to be a focal point, but I suspect that they are just this small group, right? Of victims.
Yeah. And that's my question is,
trying to get their revenge.
What is North
back.
Star that set this up in the first place? And who is it, right? Who are the other people who are playing the bigger game here? And that is what we got to find out about. And that is what we are desperate to find out about.
Yes. As like what, as Emily says at the end, conspiracy theory. I don't know anymore.
And that's the funny part. All right. So the car drives up. It's just a wonderful scene. The car drives up and there's a guy locked up. There's a guy locked to a bomb.
Okay,
and
what you have to do is just before we set that up. Okay. Just let me so they get to the park. Voight is in the van, the surveillance van, right, that they're controlling everything from. He looks at it and he says, "What are you doing?" Damien's going to pick this up right away.
Yeah.
He knows. I mean, you got too close. You've got to get them this far away. Nope, not doing that. Nope. And he says, "Okay, basically he wanted to say your funeral, but he didn't." Yeah. And he said, "Okay, I'll just go sit in the bench, guy." And so he goes and sits on the bench. And so they wait and they wait and they wait. And there's a timing thing. And all of a sudden we see the van coming. Well, my God, this van driving, and you look at it and they're shooting at it. It's been covered in Kevlar.
Yeah, covered in bulletproof vests. I loved that note.
Yeah, that was cute.
That was nice.
And then they decide to shoot the tires out.
Tires.
So, yeah, that's how they finally
stop it.
To stop. And Voight could have run because he's not tied up, nothing, and they're all concerned because they open it up and this guy comes up.
Oh, that poor man.
Average, right?
Just some doofus. Poor guy. Who has no idea what's going on.
Right? His plaid shirt and his jeans, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah, he's a workman.
Yeah, and they've put him in this. He was going to sell them guns. They didn't have the money. They hit him over the head. And then when he woke up, he was tied to the van, and they told him to drive.
Yep. They said, drive to the park. And, everything after that is, well, you'll find out.
Yeah. Well,
poor guy.
And then there's the poor guy. And then there's the phone there. Well, it's pretty obvious, as they say, it's not linked up to anything. They want to talk to us.
Yeah.
But they can't find the actual mechanism. And then when they find it, the actual mechanism is actually a pager, which is a good thing for Emily for Garcia, because she can block that easily. But the problem is, it's one-way transmission. Yeah. So you can't trace it. No, she can't trace it, but it doesn't matter because it means that somebody has to be
within a very close area.
A close area. So that means if she jams stuff, she will also jam. They're assuming it's Damien at this point. She can jam that as well. It turns out, of course,
they get on the phone and it turns out it's Jade. But missed opportunity on their part. She knows they're close. Get cops out there, looking for a woman. They know what she looks like, And
why did they let her walk out between two police cars?
Yeah.
Is everybody so freaked out by the...
I think everybody's so freaked out.
Everybody's so freaked out because this is a bomb?
Yeah. I think people... I will let the show get away with this. Well, no, I will let the show get away with this because people do get really freaked out by bombs. That's not an unreasonable position for these guys. These people would be in terror for their lives.
Okay, and but everybody seems to congregate around the bomb. Whereas I'm going, if I knew it was a bomb,
maybe just
I'd be running the other way.
Maybe just let Voight and Luke handle this. Everybody else get clear, right?
Yeah, just get away from that bomb. It's not like the rest of you can do anything about the bomb.
No, 100% you can't.
It's Luke and Penelope that are going to fang the bomb.
Exactly. Penelope doesn't have to be next to it. Luke is going to be the one to cut the cables, and Voight has to stay on the phone, right? So, other than that, maybe, I'm just going to say maybe, get away from the bomb.
Because it's a pretty nasty looking bomb.
Well, and I mean, okay, now I'm going to be a pedant, so just bear with me for a second.
Here's the pedant.
The pedantry is, I'm not sure where they're getting like C4 that you buy, right? Like, you remember in our famously the episode we like to joke about the most, false flag?
Yeah. Okay.
Where it's like, why is all this fertilizer piled there? But the prop person, instead of getting fertilizer, ammonium nitrate, which you can use to make bombs, the prop person got giant bags of explosives that you can't buy without a license, and you can't get a license without saying what you're going to be using the explosives for. Like, they bought the right thing. Here, these are actual bricks of like C4, right? That you sell for specific demolition-related purposes. This isn't a pipe bomb that they made out of black powder they bought in a hunting store, right? Or that they bought in a hardware store. This is an actual brick of C4 that is really hard to get.
Okay, there's now, the thing is, though, remember that Damien has all these connections.
I know, but I'm just saying, tracking down I'm just going to say, that has a serial number on it. Mm-hmm. So if they try to trace the explosive next week, I'll be very impressed that they thought about that. Because, like I said, it's a little preposterous that these people on the run, living out of this car, are able to get a high-grade explosive and a giant brick of it that, would wipe out that car and leave a dent in the ground. Because literally all you need to kill somebody is a single pipe bomb put on their chest. And it's like, no, nobody's surviving that. So it's like, they went really overboard with the explosives, or what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, but, we'll see what happens next week. I'm going to give them that one because we have no idea. Like, I think we're being led into a false idea of just who Damien is.
Okay.
Not Jade, but Damien.
Right.
That I think that Damien is a much...
Please.
Now, the word is because they say that Damien was the protector. Like when Voight's talking, Damien thinks he's the protector, but you protect yourself. He's talking to Jade, right? Yeah. The conversation between him and Jade is worth listening to and paying attention to. It is very, very interesting. And then we get Voight, right? So it's all, you can listen to that. But with Voight, so he's now in chains again. He's put back into the police van. And then we see Damien coming up.
So perfect.
This is what I mean. I tell you, Damien is very, very well trained.
Yep.
He is
he's comfortable just walking into danger.
Oh yes, not only that, but pretending to be an official.
Yeah.
An FBI guy.
Oh no, he's pretending to be a local cop.
Okay,
he's pretending to be a local cop,
okay.
But still.
So he walks in, he sits down, he says, I'm going to go and get there's some paperwork I need to get, so do you mind? And the guy says, sure, go get it. He sits in the car. And it's a fleeting thought, but you go, is he going to take that van with Voight and run away? No.
He just needs to know about North Star.
He looks in the mirror and he says, so I'm looking in your eyes. Yep. And Voight then moves forward and looks in the same mirror, like it's the rear view mirror.
Yep.
Right. And then he says, yeah, now we're going to have to, whatever, North Star. I can't remember the exact
They're going to have
words.
to talk. They are going to talk about North Star now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so exciting.
And Damien gets out of it and disappears. Like Jade disappears.
Nobody's looking.
Yeah, because nobody's looking.
They assume the problem is over. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good.
It is good. It is good. And we haven't talked about sort of the Emily.
We'll get to the Emily stuff in a second. Yeah. But what I want to point out here is another thing that I really liked about the episode is they were being realistic about bombs, which is it's not hard to disarm a bomb. The whole point of C4, right, is that it's really hard to detonate except with a blasting cap. Right? Yeah. You need a detonator to make it go off. And so literally, as long as no electricity gets to the detonator, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you identify where the detonator is, and that there's no like secondary detonator or something like that, you can just cut a wire, and that bomb can't do anything. Now, I would have liked it, right, if they, so generally, if you cut all the wires in a bomb, you're probably going to be fine. I would have liked it if they had waited for the SWAT team to bring some liquid nitrogen, but other than that, they actually treated the bomb disarming very realistically, in that literally all they had to do was, they wanted to make sure she wasn't going to pull the trigger, and once they were sure she wasn't going to pull the trigger when they moved on the bomb, they just moved on the bomb. Like, yeah, that's very realistic, and I love that they demonstrate it that way.
Yeah, and although short-sightedness, not thinking, no, it isn't even short-sightedness. I think that there's this whole thing. The SWAT team would have taken too long to get there.
No, you don't want to risk
the whole thing when he could have done it once all the signals were jammed.
Yeah, you can just cut it right away.
So, and then Jade goes, oh shit, and breaks the phone.
Yeah.
She can't have any more interaction because we never do find out whether she would have phoned a third time, because she had set it on a timer. So my
suspicion is she wouldn't have.
Yeah, my suspicion
and
is Voight's was.
And Voight's was. No, my suspicion is that it's like, this was all a distraction, that she was working a distraction to give Damien a chance to get close to Voight. I think their plan worked perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. And what I love is, and it's just about how much on tilt the team is, right? And how they're scrambling. Voight taps a secret message, right? And they're just like, and they still just go on with the plan. Right? They still go on with the meeting, even though he's typed a secret message, because they're like, it can't possibly, like, and they play it off as if like, well, we're letting him because that just gets him deeper into the trap. I'm like, no, he pulled one over on you. Yeah. And you have to admit that, and you have to watch closer. Yeah.
The thing is that Luke comes and says, yeah, it was Morse code and this is what it said.
Yeah.
And Voight just says, oh, well, it was just a lie. There's no such thing as North Star.
I know.
And they believed him?
Like, no, because
maybe
they ran
Emily
it.
Didn't.
Maybe Emily didn't.
Because she puts Tyler onto something.
Yeah.
And part of it is getting, what's his face, right?
Paul F. Tompkins, Brian.
Yes, Brian. But there's something else going on, as Tyler says, and you don't want to know.
Yep.
And so then you see Emily with Brian trying to talk him into, and he's just
pretending he knows nothing.
Yeah.
And then finally gives her the secret message.
Yeah. Teresa is in trouble.
Oh, yes, in trouble, not in danger. No, I think it is trouble. It doesn't matter which of the words it is.
It's in trouble. And then you see Tyler
immediately know what that means.
Tyler
calls Teresa and says, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's huge. Is this Felicity Huffman? Is this how we're getting Felicity Huffman on the show?
That's Felicity Huffman.
That's got to be, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because she hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah, we've been patiently waiting for her to show up. Oh my God. But yeah, it's probably Felicity Huffman is how they're getting that in. But it's like, what does that mean? And why is this group looking to flush her out? Because that's the only reason they could have given him the information to give to her. It's because they're looking to flush somebody out, right?
Do you think she was the head psychiatrist for Stuart
House?
Oh
my God, that would be quite a reveal. Oh my God, that would be quite a reveal.
Well, if I'm going to,
why does Tyler already know about her? Like, this is, oh my God, because this episode, you're right, it's moving us into a new phase of the show.
Well, yeah, we're going someplace else because Emily is been benched completely.
Yep. And David's got to run the team.
Dave has to take over. He's got to pull up his socks. Dave says, oh, you'll be back. And she says, no, you have to do this because I can't. And then she bursts out crying. Yeah. Oh, we've never seen Emily cry like that before.
No, that's a new one.
That's a new one.
Wow.
And it was finally the massive frustrations of all of this.
All
and
hits her at once.
Nothing working. Nothing has worked. It doesn't matter. He's always seems to be ahead of them. And this is something this team has never, ever had to deal with.
Nope.
So even Rebecca is falling apart. And Tara, as I said, Tara's the only one
who's pretty stable.
And Tyler, maybe.
And Tyler. Yeah, I think Tyler's got a pretty solid head on his shoulders.
Yeah, and
he's been playing another game this whole time.
Yeah. And what I would say is that David Rossi is now going to pull up his socks.
Yeah. No, he has to.
And bring his A game.
We know
he has an A game.
Oh, 100%.
We've seen it periodically.
No, he can bring it when he needs to.
And he's already had all his breakdowns.
Yes. No,
he is
through
more.
The breakdown. Fingers crossed. I hope we see Crystal's ghost again. And I know it's just him imagining, but still, I hope we see Crystal's ghost again at some point. That would just be a nice thing briefly.
It would just be nice, right?
No, I'm not saying we're going to, but it would be nice to see her at the end again, since he's been having Voight in his head. I'm not saying we're going to. I'm just saying it would be nice.
Yeah, and his smile. It would be nice because that would be closure for Dave. Now, I don't know if there's going to be closure for Dave.
No, there might not
ever.
be.
If Voight, are they going to? Voight is such a good villain.
He is.
He is such a good villain, and they have managed to work in another conspiracy structure.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the end of this. I'm just going, whoa, yes.
Let's talk about the FBI and conspiracies, because her whole theory, right? All their theory is that this is just the realm of crazy people. We saw that in famous episode False Flag.
We keep bringing False Flag.
Well, it's not accidental. It's their first dip in the conspiracy theater waters. They talked about truthers again this season. They used the awkward term truthers, right?
Yeah.
Like the 100%. You have to talk about False Flag and what a mess False Flag is, because, and this is the thing that I think is worth bringing up. I don't want to be. We're not going to go too far down the rabbit hole, so don't worry. I'm not about to go crazy, but.
Okay.
The FBI kills people. Okay? The FBI
has been known to.
No, the FBI murdered Fred Hampton. They did that. There is no form of explaining history with any degree of accuracy that does not involve the phrase, the FBI murdered Fred Hampton. They did. That's just, you guys can look it up. There's a whole movie about it. The Black Judas and the Black Messiah. You can read books about this. You can watch documentaries about this. You can watch an award-winning film about it. The FBI murdered Fred Hampton. That happened. And when the FBI has sources, they often let those sources do whatever they want. Everybody knows the Tsarnaev brothers and the Boston bombing. What most people don't know about that is the older Tsarnaev brother, Tamerlane, right? And his buddies murdered and robbed a drug dealer months earlier, and the FBI effectively let them get away with it because he was a source, because the FBI was obsessed with finding, essentially, terrorist plots. And so he was one of the guys they were using as a source for terrorist plots. And he murdered somebody, and the FBI covered it up for him. And then one of the guys who did it with him got murdered by the FBI a couple of years after the Boston bombing.
Yeah, and here's the one thing. Here's the thing, and this to bring it back right to the end of this episode, is why Emily is so distraught, is because she sanctioned an assassination. This is what I'm getting to. She doesn't believe in doing that sort of thing. She has a
This
bigger
is the point
vision.
I'm getting to. She doesn't imagine, right, that she is the kind of person who would do this or anything like that. But the fact is, the whole
this
idea
is where
that
Voight has driven to her to.
That's the point I'm getting to. Thank you. It's like, you and I know that in the real world, the FBI kills people. And they don't do it often, that we know of. It's like, they don't do it often, right? They probably killed Martin Luther King Jr. There's a pretty good chance that happened. I can't say that they didn't. In fact, there's, like I said, a really good chance that they did. But the point I'm getting at is, and I think this is the key, she lives in a world where the FBI doesn't do this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And now she just became part of the FBI doing this sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
it didn't happen, and so part of her has got to be massively
I'm
relieved.
sure she's hugely relieved. 100%. But she still signed off on it.
Yes, and this is where it relates to Emily coming in to the BAU from someplace else.
Someplace much shadier.
Yes, okay, but it's much shadier, but it was spies, it was CIA, it was all of this other stuff. So she didn't go through the indoctrination of the FBI.
No.
And so she still maintains that, okay, the CIA was
They did the shady stuff. They did the bad stuff. But now here I'm at the FBI. We're the good guys.
We're the good guys, and we don't do that sort of stuff. And all of a sudden, there she is doing that sort of stuff. Well, because it's not like they might have covered up for Dave, but it's not like anybody is absolutely 100% like the viewing audience is that Dave assassinates people.
No,
I mean, we saw him.
We saw him do it twice.
Spencer Reed thought it. Spencer Reed was pretty sure that Dave assassinated the guy in the brick room, right?
Yeah, the copycat.
The copycat, right?
Yeah, Mark Hamill, for if anyone doesn't know who we're talking about. The beautiful Mark Hamill, the replicator. Ugh,
yes,
replicator.
and Dave did assassinate him.
Yeah.
There was no question.
Yeah, he killed him. And then he shot the guy who killed Gideon.
Yeah, and what happens is that Spencer Reed
knew 100%.
Knew 100% and never said anything. So therefore, nobody but Spencer and David Rossi know.
Yeah.
So it is Emily has been able to maintain
this fiction.
And all of a sudden, as I said, the whole team is on friggin' tilt.
Yep.
They just can't seem to get it together. Voight never gives them a shot. Everything is just dump.
Yep.
And
no, they're moving too fast.
Pulling all the strings and not giving them time to sit down and just think. And we see them talking about all of this stuff. And at one point, Voight says that, they tell him, Voight, right?
Yeah.
What they want, what the plan is. And Voight looks at them and says, "Are you nuts? That's never going to work. So what do you want me to do here?" But then that is itself a ploy so that because he knows he will potentially get in touch with Damien, and then he will send some kind of a message. And I'm not sure that they wouldn't had it not been for the knowing that Dave had an assassin, a sniper, pointing at him. I mean,
would he have run? Maybe
he might have run. Because he could have gotten away given what was going on.
He could have, but the thing is, if he runs, where does he go? No, my suspicion really is that it's like, because he could have turned Damien over to them more effectively, right? And he's hoping Damien will get away, and he's given Damien information. So the question is, what is North Star, and why is it important to the game that he is playing that essentially these Gold Star killers manage to keep killing people? Why is that important for his game? What target out there? And again, what was so important that Bailey got himself killed trying to cover it up?
Yes.
Bailey, because we can never forget that. Bailey got himself killed trying to cover this up.
Yeah.
That's not an accident.
No, and so anyway, I'm looking forward to next week.
I can't wait for next week. Are you kidding me? And this is like the rabbit hole everyone's going down is so fascinating, because what has been like at the core of this case is them assuming that, conspiracy theorists are deranged, that conspiracy theorists are making stuff up because they need to explain how the world works. But this episode, 2 members of the FBI conspire to plan to murder somebody.
Yeah.
And suddenly, all of their assumptions about conspiracy theories have gone out the window because they had their own little murder conspiracy.
I know. It's
fantastic.
Yeah. No, this whole, it is, as they say, crazy, but this, I love it. I'm
it's
loving
so good. Oh my God, it's so good.
I can't say enough good things for a transition episode because you've already given the basic plot, which is, okay. You could say the basic plot, it works, but it is so layered, and the basic plot, pulls everything sort of together and just shifts our focus and moves away. And you can see the team falling apart. Is the team going to pull itself together?
Well, of course
is Terra going to have to take over?
I know, at some point. I can't wait.
Somebody's got to pull this team up by their socks. And if Dave can't do it, the only other person is Terra.
The only one left.
Luke is going down a rabbit hole.
Yep.
What the hell is he so bent out of shape by Tyler?
I know.
It's beyond me.
I mean, honestly, it could just, in addition to whatever is him worrying about Penelope, let's not forget that it's like, he was the same kind of special forces guy that Tyler was.
Ah, yes.
And so it's bringing stuff up for him, I have to assume.
Yeah. And here's the funny thing is, right? When you saw Jade and Damien making out, when you first look at it, I doubt that it was done on purpose, but I all of a sudden, for a half second, I'm going, is that Luke in the car making out with someone? Are we going to get some depth to
It's just the way it was shot, but I do understand why you thought that. I do understand.
Because he had the same dark facial hair that Luke's sporting these days.
I know. He's got short hair. He's got the short hair. He's got the little stubble. No, I understand why you're saying that. Like, it's not that different.
It's a half second, right?
Yeah, I understand it. I didn't think that, but I understand why you did. It's good. I mean, it's weird that we keep just talking about how good the show is. But it really is doing a great job. There's so much going on here. And the fact that, like, Emily having to face up to the idea that, oh, wait, am I the bad guy here?
Well, no, I felt so sorry for Emily.
But the question becomes, once you accept that you might be the bad guy here, you have to ask, is this the first time I've been the bad guy?
Well, yes.
And that opens up a rabbit hole that she's not going to be comfortable going down.
Okay, and just remember what happened when she was Lauren and the end to that one. That was not right. And so, but that's why she escaped to the FBI, because the FBI were the good guys. And then it has still driven her to this place.
Yep. And the question becomes,
I think that's it.
What happens when you realize you're not the good guy?
Or no, here's what she needs to understand is that she has the capability to become this person, and that, yes, it has shattered her idea of the FBI. Now she has to depend on herself to make the right decisions. I suspect Emily will pull herself together eventually.
I think you're right, because what you've observed there is absolutely great. If you can no longer offload your moral reasoning to a corrupted agency, well, then you have to start making your own decisions. If you can't say, well, if the FBI says it must be fine, if you don't have that ability anymore, suddenly you are morally responsible for your actions again.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and this is why I made the crack about Hotch, right?
Yeah.
That because Hotch already knew how corrupt the FBI was.
Oh, yeah.
He's always known. Doesn't mean he didn't want to climb the ladder, but he's always known that there's a core corruption.
Yeah. Well, and the weird part is, right, this whole idea of offloading your morality to the organization you work for. Again, we talked about it on Shooter, but I always think back to one of the worst episodes of the TV show Bones.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know the one you're talking about. Go ahead.
Okay. It's the episode of the TV show Bones where the Secret Service shows up with a corpse, with a skeleton in a thing. And they want to find out if this person, like, how many bullets were used to kill this person. And the team, I mean, it's a bottle episode. They just hang out in the office the whole day, and the whole team isn't allowed to leave until she's done examining the body. So it's a fun episode where the characters get a lot of chances to chat, right? But fundamentally, the premise of the episode is the Secret Service wants to know if, there were more than one gunman who killed JFK. And this proves a huge problem for Booth, because his whole backstory is he used to murder people for the government. Yep. And he goes through this whole thing of, if I spent all that time offloading my morality for an evil organization, what the hell does that make me? And so at the end of the episode, she finds out, right, that there were multiple gunmen, but then she lies to Booth and says it wasn't JFK.
Yeah.
So that he can maintain the fiction, right? Yeah. That he was working for the good guys. And so that he won't go insane. And I'm like, and my reaction when I saw this, and I said it to you on the day we first saw this episode, is, man, if you think that killing JFK is the worst thing the U.S. government ever did, I'd like to introduce you to Central America.
Yeah, South America.
And all of South America.
Holy shit, shall we talk about this? Oh.
There's this country called Chile. And, read a book about them, and you'll find out you've never been working for the good guys. It ain't even a tenth
Read
of the work.
Isabel Allende's book.
Yeah, exactly. Her dad got murdered by the U.S. government so a fascist could take over and torture 100,000 people and murder thousands of people. And I don't even know why. Oh, right, so that bankers would make another couple of bucks.
Don't even. Oh, you
and
don't want to talk about Argentina.
No, we're not going to get into it now. Oh my God, Argentina, El Salvador, Guatemala.
Shall we begin? You think
the war on drugs turning Mexico into a narco state because it's so jacked up the price of marijuana that suddenly you could make billions of dollars just growing marijuana, the easiest thing in the world to grow. And it created a series of private armies fighting over this drug, all because marijuana is illegal in America.
And then cocaine.
And then cocaine, right? Doing what it did to South America.
And why did you go into Afghanistan and burn down all of the poppy fields?
It's like, Afghanistan. It takes a lot of war crimes to lose a war there, doesn't it, guys?
Jeez. I mean, it when you look at the history, but it is the history of the colonial state. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's why I look at the British Empire, and as bad as it was, my good God.
Yeah.
At least they were upfront about their colonization, and things have just. When you look at what is the worst thing about the British Empire is the devastation they left in their wake when they pulled out. Now, they were forced to pull out. They were forced to pull. They had to pull out. I'm not saying that, but at the same time,
they could have managed their exit better.
Yes, you could have not hung on to these things like you did with Canada. You didn't hang on to Canada.
No, you didn't.
And you didn't hang on to Australia, really.
No.
So you could have done, now Australia was a different situation, but then Canada, well, no, it was the same situation as Canada. Just Canada was
but you
bigger.
you 100% could have segued this out much more effectively. But you know what? That's where racism comes into it. And that's a conversation we're not equipped to have right now. So let's...
That's a Sunday show.
That is definitely a Sunday show conversation. Because fundamentally, we can't overshadow the fact that this is just a fantastic episode of Criminal Minds. Breen crushed it 100%. Direction's great. All of the actors are absolutely on point. Like just a magnificent episode.
Yeah.
So let me be petty one more time before we go.
Okay.
Dear people doing the insert shots and doing the visual effects, for once in your goddamn life, look through a pair of binoculars. and see what it looks like when you look through a pair of binoculars, okay? Because I am so sick of seeing that mask they put on the shot of like two interlocking loops. Well, you're looking through two telescopes, so it's going to be interlocking loops with a wider view. No, it's not. It just looks like a circle.
And then you can do your geographic profile. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. Okay.
All right. Okay. I'm sorry.
You know what? We're all being petty right now. But seriously, yes. Fantastic. Can't wait for next week. For now, though, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if there's any profiling-related fiction you want us to check out after this season and after we're done Those Who Kill, look, I'm just going to be honest with you. We're trying to find an excuse not to watch Profiler. So if you can come up with something better than Profiler for us to watch, let us know, because we're going to have to watch Profiler at this point if we can't come up with something else. So if you got something in your back pocket, let us know at profilingcriminalminds@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. If you're listening to this on an app or podcatcher, please rate, review, and subscribe. That's how people find out about the show. We're going to see you back here next week for the new episode. But until then, I'll say that's right. Au revoir.
And have a good week.